Hey everybody, how are you? Suzette Speaks here. Ready for another dynamic show, you guys. We have to talk a little politics today because there's a lot going on in the state of Florida. If it's your first time watching, hit the like button and also be sure to subscribe. If you're watching on our partner broadcast today, welcome. I'm simultaneously broadcasting on Jamaicans.com. There we go. And I want to welcome you if you're watching on their Facebook page. We have some politics to talk about tonight. And I'm grateful that each and every one of you are here. First of all, I'm excited because I'm hitting that 5,000 mark in terms of my subscribers. I'm also very excited because I'm really into politics. I'm a TV host and attorney. I am based in Miami, Florida. It's a hot day here in Miami. But my the governor, I should say, of the state of Florida continuously makes it even hotter. Why do I say that? Because Ron DeSantis strikes again. What is he doing? Y'all, it feels like whiplash every minute. Something else coming down. He wants to change the standards for how we teach African American history here in the U.S., here in the state of Florida. Why? He wants to tell people that that slavery was beneficial to those who were enslaved. Can you imagine? He also wants to take out certain parts of AP, advanced placement. This is high-level high school students, right? Getting ready to graduate. Wants to take out certain gender-related studies, all kinds of things going on with curriculum. But this is a new development that just happened this week on Wednesday. He went ahead and suspended a state attorney who represents a district in the middle of Florida that is right around Orlando, which is Orange County, and the adjacent county, Osceola County. Her name is Miss Monique Worrell. She's a two-time elected state attorney. And if you guys don't know the American system, basically a state attorney is the person who is in charge of prosecuting criminals who break the state's laws, right? So we have a whole bunch of laws in each and every state of the United States. They are all different. Each state has its own body of law, all right? We have like basically 50 different legal systems here, plus the federal government's body of laws. So within each county, or here we call it in Florida districts, the state attorney is the person, the man or woman who is in charge of making sure people who break the law are brought to justice, right? So again, she represents Orlando. She represents or recently represented Osceola. I'm saying recently because she was just suspended, as I said, from her office. And why? The governor of the state of Florida has now said that Ms. Worrell is not performing her duties to his standard. And he argues that she has not been prosecuting a lot of the criminals in her district as she should be. And he's taking issue with this. Now, is this in fact factual? We're going to take a deeper look. We're also going to take a look today at what other officials from that area who represent Orlando, who represent the state of Florida, who are involved in the state legislature, what are they saying about what exactly happened to her? Is it fair? Is it legal? Is it politically motivated? There are a lot of different takes on this story, and I found it very troubling from my own opinion. So as we get deeper, we are going to talk about, again, what the moves this gentleman is making. Do you guys believe Ron DeSantis has gone too far with his political agenda? Do you think, again, he is doing this to score political points? Because we know that Mr. DeSantis is in a race, not only for his seat here, but for president of the United States. Mr. DeSantis has the top job in the country, in his mind. He is looking at what people are going to say about him in the future and creating buzz in a very crowded political field. So we know that Mr. Trump is still the all-time leader in terms of who is the front runner for the big job, the top job of United States president going into the 2024 election. Mr. DeSantis is really like number 2 polling, and he has been trying to keep his name in the news, and people are asking if this move, again, this is the second time, or have I said that before? This is actually the second prosecutor he has removed from office. Again, these positions are elected by the people in that district. They have to run for office. People have to vote for them, and they take office. And again, a prosecutor's job, which we call here in Florida a state attorney, is to prosecute the criminals in that district. People who have broken the law is a better way for me to say that. So he's saying, or he's accusing Monique, can't say it. Let me just say some water. Welcome, y'all. Help me out, please. Hit the like button first and foremost. Hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Facebook, big up yourself. Jamaicans.com is my co-sponsor each and every Saturday. I welcome you. We've had some great shows these past few Saturdays. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go over to YouTube on your phone. If you have a Gmail, you have a YouTube. Look up Suzette Speaks. Hit the like button as well as you come in so more people can watch the stream. And again, I am here talking a little politics today. I want to thank my co-sponsors, Jamaicans.com, for allowing me to simulcast on their Facebook page. They have grown so much. And I know majority of those folks are part of the diaspora. They live here in Florida. So there are a lot of people who are watching, who are paying attention to what's going on in Florida politics. It has actually made global news because of how much Mr. DeSantis has been kind of striking at, these issues that affect all of us who are, what should I say, here to protect education, who want what's best for students, who want help with property insurance. There are so many other issues right now in Florida that, again, we get so much, whiplash looking at the news headlines. I felt like this one, though, is something that we should actually pay attention to, because this is a pattern and practice of, perhaps some are accusing Mr. DeSantis of wielding his power to remove political opponents. Now, that is a huge accusation. Again, we're going to look at all the facts, try to get angles from both Republicans and Democrats as we talk about this today. I pulled a few quotes from leaders from around the state. What do they have to say about him removing State Attorney Monique Worrell? I'm a little tongue-tied today, y'all. So we're going to go into why her record is being challenged. We're going to go into her statement. She put out a scathing statement. She has since deleted it. I saw it up on Attorney Ben Crump's page, and then I went to get a quick screenshot of it today, and they removed it. I'll tell you why, because she had a lot to say about what she's being accused of. And again, she has put out, she had gone to a podium. I see you guys. Welcome in the chat. Andres, how are you? He's very strong in his opinion. Again, all opinions are welcome. About Mr. DeSantis, again, he says he has to go. DLC is in the building. He says it's a wrap for Mr. DeSantis. We'll see. Big up Andrew Walker. He's also in the chat. I see you, Max Law. I appreciate everybody who's watching live. Team Replay, hit the like button and welcome. We are talking a little politics today. If you can, go back and watch a couple of my last streams. I've had some really funny shows. Welcome again. Hit the like button as you come in. Riverboat Heroes. If you guys did not see the Riverboat Brawl seen around the world, it's time for you to go back and watch some of the footage. While it was very intense, again, we do not advocate violence, but there were some interesting points of view that came about from watching what happened in Montgomery, Alabama. I did a show on that. It was a quickie. Please go back and take a look. If you didn't see last Saturday's show, pick up Andrew Walker. Speaking of Mr. Walker, we went over Trump's charges and what he's being charged with now. We're looking at a possibility for a fourth indictment, guys. So if you have not been keeping up with my shows, it's all good. If you're brand new, welcome. We're about to hit that 5,000 mark in terms of subscribers on my channel on YouTube. So look up Suzette Speaks on YouTube and hit subscribe, y'all. I appreciate all the support. And, anytime you come in and chime in and give me your opinions, it really, really does make my day. And it makes us, have an interesting dialogue here. That's what we're about here on the Suzette Speaks show. This is a place where you can talk back to me. You don't have to agree with me, and I don't have to agree with you. Okay. But we're talking a little bit of politics here in Florida today. I want to welcome you for watching on the Facebook side again, and welcome you if you're watching on the YouTube side on my channel. But yes, we're talking about Ron DeSantis. Like I was saying before, Mr. DeSantis is in a race for the nomination on the Republican side from the Republican Party for the President of the United States. His top rival is former President Donald Trump. Now, people are saying that he is trying to make a name for himself. And what he's doing is using his office in the state of Florida as governor to wield political power, to stay relevant, make moves that people must cover, and, create waves, right? Disrupt what's going on and grab headlines. so that people still, keep in front of mind, keep talking about him relentlessly. It's like a overkill, basically. Every day in Florida, we watch the news and we see something else that the governor has done. So with this latest political scandal, people are actually wondering, is he targeting a Black woman prosecutor, right? The only Black woman in all the state of Florida, in all our judicial districts, there's only one Black woman serving, right? There's only one Black man serving. He's down south near here in Broward County. Harold Pryor is the first Black man in Florida's history to be elected as a state attorney head of a district. So Monique Worrell is the only Black woman in the entire state of Florida right now currently holding that post, right? The first one was Aramis Ayala, the person before her, right, who had held this seat before her, right? So she has been elected twice. She now faces down Governor DeSantis in his move to try to remove her, or actually he has removed her. He's suspended her, and I'll talk about what he calls the grounds he's using to remove her from office, right? Very controversial. Welcome. I see you out here trucking. Big up yourself. How are you, Jeremy? Good to see you. Let me see. Andrew got jokes. The pudding man always puts his hand in places it does not belong. Hey. All right, I love the wonderful allegory there. Thank you. I see Reese from Philly. Big up Philly in the building. Hey, Life of Cash. How are you? Good to see you, good brother. And Jeremy says, what? Your Jamaican accent comes out when you say chime in. Yeah, you have a chime in. Now let me know how you feeling today. I was born in Jamaica, raised here in the United States, best of both worlds, if you will. And I have a very strong, affinity for what's going on politically speaking. There are so many people who pay the cost here in the U.S., right, on U.S. soil, for the abilities we have to move in the society the way we move, that for us not to pay attention is a huge disservice to those who fought, bled, died, sacrificed, right, their minds, their bodies, so that we could have the opportunities that we have here. I will never, ever take my political power for granted, and I hope you won't either. So welcome. I see you, Jill. Welcome. I gotta do a little bit more with my hair. I like my hair when it's a little bit more fluffed up. Let me just try to fluff it up while I'm watching y'all. But while I do that, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Big up everybody watching. I went to a wonderful Mary Kay party last night. I haven't seen people doing Mary Kay in years, but I went to a Mary Kay party. That's a little cuter, right? I was chilling with the ladies. I'll actually post a few pictures on my Instagram. We had face masks. We had all kind of stuff going on. It was cute. I got my little home facial and tried some new products. It's actually this lip gloss is care of Mary Kay. Mary Kay lip glosses. Let me just tell you. They're not paying me for this, but the smoothness is not too sticky and it stays and it's pigmented. Yes. Thank you, Mary Kay. I bought two of them. So anyway, back to the lecture at hand. Let's go. Welcome, Jill. Talking about this beautiful lady that you see on your screen here. Her name is attorney Monique Worrell. She is out of Orlando area. She was elected twice to serve as the state attorney. That is the top prosecutor on behalf of the people in her district to hold those who have broken the law accountable by bringing charges, right, on behalf of the state, on behalf of the people. In her service over the last 2 years, she has made some controversial remarks, and I think many suspect that is what Governor DeSantis's move to suspend her really has to do with, and not what he's saying. Let's look at what he's saying. He suspended her. Hit the like button as you come in. Make your comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Yeah, I see this. And again, the political agenda that people say he has is that he is going to push the envelope, push hard to get noticed, to get buzz, to get press, because he's thinking about really not Florida, but the United States presidency. So that he is constantly showing how tough he is, showing how strong he is. And here, his statements that he made at a press conference Wednesday talk about him being tough on crime. Anybody who's not prosecuting crime as they should be removed. That's what he's accusing her of. saying that she's soft on crime, right? She's soft on certain things that she should be. But let me just break down what the statements were that she made. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is a picture. I just want to show you again who we're talking about. Monique Worrell. This was a picture she posted on her own Instagram when she started, let's say decades ago, as a prosecutor. She posted that as a throwback after her first day on the job back in the day, as working in the office that she once headed. Now she has been removed and suspended. She will have to appeal for her job. Shout out. What's up? I see you. Wonderful. 34 Wagwan. Hey, Mandrill. I appreciate you being here, brother. You helped me out on that wonderful stream we did about the heroes of the Mississippi River boat brawl. There we go. Wonderful insight. Oh my God, Kennard. Okay, throwback. Let me see you. How you been, brother? Good to see you. West Coast in the building. Happy to have you here. Life of Cash said, hold up, that Mary Kay sounds dangerous. You said, I'm not signing up for nothing. I just went and support my homegirl, right? She asked me to come, so I went and I supported. And I enjoyed a night of just girl time pampering. It was about 25 of us. It was a good turnout, actually, and trying the different products and stuff. It was good libation, lots of delicious bites, and just quality time with friends. It was really nice, actually. But yes, the makeup was just a part of that, and the skincare was a bonus. Hey, Kennard wants to know how I've been. I've been good, brother. I hope you have been well, and I know you stay busy over there in Cali. But we're talking politics today, y'all. And I'm grateful that you're here. Hit the like button. And I'm going to talk about why now. This is what the governor says. Now, I don't agree necessarily with what he's saying. This is the case he made from the podium in a well-attended press conference in Orlando, right? Wednesday, he made this huge statement. I'm removing a duly elected, so someone elected by the people, right, was on a ballot. The people in her district voted for her, right, twice to be the state attorney. And now he's saying, now these are his words, and I'm going to tread lightly because, again, this is the governor making his case. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it, but this is what he's saying. Since she was suspended, why? Among grievances against Worrell, Governor DeSantis said that her office, to paraphrase, avoided minimum mandatory sentences for gun crimes, right? Avoided minimum mandatory sentences for drug trafficking offenses, allowed juvenile offenders to avoid serious charges and incarceration. Avoided sentencing enhancements under, let me move my sign here, sorry, under practice limiting charges for child pornography. Now, these are some very serious charges. Now, this is what he's saying. This is the governor's stance on why he has removed State Attorney Monique Worrell. Now, there are people that are going to look at some of the programs now very deeply that she held out in her office. Now, for example, there are programs even in Miami here or in Broward or all over the state called diversion programs. What are those? Those are programs that are implemented by many court systems where younger offenders who have committed a crime are sent to be rehabilitated as well as, serve out a certain amount of their sentences. Now, I can get into the philosophy from law school days, y'all, of the reason we have law and penalty. But even I know in Broward County, there has been a pushback to diversion programs saying that even the younger offenders who enter the criminal justice system should be facing basically juvenile jail without trying to rehabilitate their minds, right? Their economic status in terms of why they often offend in the first place, or trying to holistically approach why this young person went in the direction they did to break the law, right? There's a whole philosophy around diversion, and it's not for every crime, right? It's for certain qualifying low-level crimes. For example, when people have, or young people specifically have low amounts of cannabis, for example, in their possession. Now, do you send them to hardcore jail for juvenile jail for those types of offenses? Do they actually have an addiction problem? Do they have other issues going on? How can we rehabilitate them so that at that younger, under 18 years old, they're looking at the possibility of changing their thinking, right? Trying to show them why breaking the law at this age, especially for nonviolent crimes, is what I'm talking about. Trying to work with them so that they have a better opportunity to improve their ways of thinking, right? As opposed to throwing them in jail, locking them up, and possibly getting exposed to people who are doing way worse things, and kind of turning them into like let's say career criminal, but I would say more so someone who thinks like criminality is normal. So there's a philosophy around this. I'm trying my best to try to off the cuff explain some of these diversion programs. You can look at them specifically for where you live and where in the state of Florida. Each circuit, they call them, has different philosophies and different programs. And again, a younger person would have to qualify for one of them, right? And it has to be a nonviolent, non-repeat act, those kind of things. It has to be a lot of different like firsts, right? Can we catch a young person when they have first kind of stepped into a different realm when it comes to breaking the law? Can we pull them back, right? So there's an accusation that she has done too much of that in terms of her diversion programs. And I'll tell you that the person that the governor has appointed to take her position, the first thing he did, and he gave a press conference, and in full disclosure, I know him. He grew up in South Florida, went to UM, played football in UM. He's very conservative. He says he's removing all diversion programs as one of his first orders of business, taking her place after being appointed by the governor. So yeah, so Monique Worrell, guys, I think I'm like dehydrated from yesterday. From Orange County, representing the people of Orange and Osceola, was just removed this week from office by Governor DeSantis. Now, this statement that she initially put up, I think she pulled it down. I went to go look for it this morning. It was pulled down. Woo, she was spicy, the spiciest responses I've seen in a long time. I picked up this headline from Attorney Ben Crump's Instagram. And then when I went to go kind of take pieces and pull for this show to highlight for you, to give you a summary, the response that she had written was removed. I thought, oh, okay, let them know how you really feel. Shout out to Andrew. Great. Glad you're here. Again, all my brothers in the chat. We are 25 strong watching live. Welcome. All right. I know it's Saturday, so I always appreciate you being here. Hit the like button and thank you for your support. Talking about what's going on in Florida with the state attorney Monique Worrell and how she pushed back in a very scathing letter that, again, has been removed from the internet when I went back to it. And she did make public comments that same day that Governor DeSantis removed her from office, saying that he was not pleased and she's not protecting her district. And she had a lot to say about why he's actually doing it. So do you think he's right? Do you think he was within his, not only, what should I call it, the legal bounds to be able to do what he just did, but do you think, politically speaking, there was a legitimate cause for Mr. DeSantis to remove her? Or do you think this was political gamesmanship, where he is looking to score points with a Republican base, not only in Florida, but nationally, so that they are looking at him as tough on crime, and more importantly, probably tough on liberals and people who differ from his political philosophy? We're going to go into a little bit more about what others are saying from the district in and around where former state attorney or now suspended state attorney Monique Worrell, her colleagues from around this district have been commenting. And you'll see that along political party lines, some will agree with her, standing firmly in the fact that they think it's a political hit job, according to their opinion. And then the more conservative and Republican statewide officials, local officials are like, bring it on, Mr. DeSantis, get her out of there. We agree with you. She's not tough enough on crime. And we want to see someone fresh who is going to work with law enforcement to put people behind bars. It's an interesting contrast. We're going to go and let the people speak for themselves. Let's start with Maxwell Frost, who's a congressman, the youngest right now serving in the United States Congress. He represents this district in Orlando, I forget what congressional district he's in, but bottom line is he's the only millennial that is in Congress right now, the first, I should say, to be elected to the United States House of Representatives. So I think he's like 20, maybe 5, if I'm not mistaken. He also, like I said, represents Orlando and surrounding parts. So when he saw this story, he went straight to his Twitter and he put out statements, etc., in support. Let's just read it real fast so you know. So according to Maxwell Frost, this is from the Fox affiliate there in Orlando, Congressman Frost issued the following statement saying, "We saw this coming from a mile away with his presidential campaign up in flames, shots fired. Wannabe dictator," this is Maxwell Frost's words, "Governor Ron DeSantis is taking a page out of his tired playbook by unconstitutionally suspending a duly elected state attorney to breathe life back into his tired conservative persona." Ouch, Maxwell Frost, really? State Attorney Worrell is a duly elected public servant who has done her job. The people of Orange County see this fraud suspension for what it is and continue to offer her our support as she fights this overreach of power. We will not stand for this blatant abuse of power and fascism in our state. Okay, Maxwell Frost, tell us how you really feel in this witty, also posted on his Twitter page. The removal of an elected official is much deeper than Governor DeSantis not doing well in his presidential bid and trying to find some steam. He has actively been subverting democracy and disenfranchising voters to consolidate power for him and his cronies. This is, in his words, a hostile takeover. All right, that was from Maxwell Frost. This is the congressman in the same district where Monique Worrell was removed from office. Let me say hello to a couple people. I see you, and I would love to read your comments. Leave your comments below. Thank you so much for being here. Let me see the question. Hey, Rackstone says, respect, Suzette. Respect to you, brother. Says, do you advocate choosing our state attorneys to run in traditionally Republican districts as Republican Trojan horses on the ballot? I wonder. So you're saying someone who is less perhaps conservative in their politics, but just for the purposes of getting Republican votes, registering as Republican, running in the Republican primary, and hopefully, what should I say, confusing the Republican voters by stating, because remember, you have to win a primary first, just within your party in the United States, and then you go to the general election, which is like a couple months later, with each party running against each other, Republican versus Democrat versus Independents, or whoever else is in the race. This is a very interesting strategy. I'm trying to think if it would work, because it depends on how educated the base of people are. And I'm not sure if it would work. This is interesting. I have to give this a little bit more thought. So state attorneys who are Democrats, in terms of more liberal in terms of their legal philosophy, perhaps in more conservative districts, just registering as Republican and trying to win in that way. It's a very interesting prospect. I would have to give this a little bit more thought. Good question, though. Andrew says the governor needs to go Cito. Woo! Let me know how you really feel. Rockstone adds, Honorable Judge Bruce Wright's career on the bench in New York should be studied for alternative incarceration sentences. Okay, bail and programs and backlash he faced. This is where we're getting into, again, differences of legal philosophies, right? Because some people feel the law is strictly for punishment, right? Others say that, especially at younger ages, when people are nonviolent, right, first-time offenders and things like this, should they be able to qualify for what we call diversion, which is trying to put them in programs that rehabilitate their mindset, right? They still have to serve, whether it's community service, go to classes, get counseling, doing other things to rehabilitate. Why did you do this in the first place? This is your first time doing something that is against the law. It is a nonviolent event. And you have, people who, parents or caregivers or people who come to court, know this is a good person, this is a good student, this is a person who found the wrong crowd. How do we save this person from a life of, right, going in that direction? Now, whether you believe that's possible or not, I also do believe people have to face consequences, right? But when especially it comes to the young people who we know are disproportionately targeted by, right, law enforcement, depending on where you live, right? Because, they look a certain way, they live in a certain economically deprived area, etc. Those places are called sometimes over policed areas of the city. People say, oh, Black people always commit all the crimes. No, there is a lot more law enforcement presence in a lot of our economically deprived areas. So is it the chicken or the egg? Did the crimes exist before? Or if you are more present at more times in those places, do you find more things to charge people with, right? There's a whole philosophy that can go even deeper into it when it comes to what do we think about, especially minors, first-time nonviolent offenders, and what we think we should be doing with them in order to either punish them, send them home, or rehabilitate them if there is a sign that this is somebody who can be rehabilitated based on, the other aspects of their lives, right? So are we looking at children as children? Again, there are so many people that have commentary on the benefits of diversion and how it works. Other people are very, again, I feel like it came up when we were talking about Parkland. Unfortunately, I think there's almost their 4th or 5th anniversary now of Parkland, the school shooting that happened in Parkland, Florida, just north of here in Broward County. And again, Nicholas Cruz, now the convicted shooter, was a part of a diversion program. And there were people that were like, oh, these programs are too easy. Look how they let this guy go back on the street. And now he ended up being a school shooter, basically. But there's a lot more qualitative evidence of how they have worked. And I'd be interesting to see this example that Rockstone brings up. Appreciate you. Let me see. All comments. Let me see what this means. Life of Cash. Packs of hot dogs and buns should have the same quantity. And the people should be able to elect their representatives. Okay, interesting take. Thank you. Andrew says, we as a group have to maintain a universal standard no matter what party we are in. This is how we can maintain and acquire more influence this way. We can fight some of these petty moves from both sides. Okay, so he said, don't worry about being Republican or Democrat, whatever you want to be. Let's go. Canardic adds, the 2024 and 2028 elections are very crucial for global impact. I'm just watching to know the players of this game, not to worship nor get emotional from what comes out of their mouths. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Glad you are here to learn. We're going to go over a few more comments. I'm going to drop the link talking about Mr. Ron DeSantis, the controversial, often sparking a lot of debate in our great state of Florida here. Our governor, who has been very aggressive in making a name for himself by changing a policy in major areas, right? Major policy changes. And this last move he's made this week grabbed headlines, which was removing a state attorney who was elected by the people of her district to replace her with someone, and I'll mention who he is, much more conservative, much more aligned politically with the governor's viewpoint of, both the legal justice system as well as, politically speaking. So people have taken issue with this. Was this because of her politics, or was this truly because he felt that she was not doing an adequate job for the people of her district? Now, people of her district have been speaking out, and I'll give you a few more quotes, and I'll drop the link as far as what other elected officials in and around her area. This gentleman is State Senator Chevron Jones from here in Miami. He is a state leader, though, for the Democratic Party. I think he's the minority leader in the Senate, right? That's not the U.S. Senate, not in D.C., but the one in Florida, right? Every state has its own body of legislation, where legislation is created. And again, we have a U.S. House and a U.S. Senate, and each state has a state house and the state Senate. Now, he's on the Senate side, which is the smaller body, usually considered the stronger body of, in Florida, I think it's 40 elected state senators for the state. 12 are Democrats, right? So we don't have the power, if you are a Democrat, in the state legislature at all. Same thing with the House side. Out of those, I think it's maybe 120 House districts in Florida. I got to make sure I'm saying it right. But it's a super majority of Republicans, same type of thing. So they can speak up, but they need Republican help to pass any legislation. And more importantly, their numbers are so few because of gerrymandering and how the districts have been drawn so that Republicans get elected, that they cannot stop any legislation, even if they vote no. If every Democrat in the Senate votes no in Florida, every Democrat in the House votes no, they are a super majority, right? The Republicans have a super majority. So it will not stop them from doing anything because the Democrats don't have enough votes to stop them, right? So this is the imbalance that we see. Now, it doesn't reflect the electorate, the voters of Florida and what their political affiliations are. It does not represent that. But the way the districts have been drawn, right? The maps are drawn every 10 years after the census. And the way these House districts and Senate districts are going into neighborhoods and cutting out other neighborhoods ensures that we get Republicans that are a supermajority. Right, that's a whole nother animal. But Chevron Jones, as a leader in the Senate of the state of Florida, had this to say. His statement included these phrases, and I kind of cut them up. Most of these folks gave very long statements, so I tried to get the most poignant parts of it. All right, so Governor Ron DeSantis has now suspended another duly elected and qualified state attorney in Florida. First, Andrew Warren. I'll tell you who Andrew Warren was in a moment. Now, Monique Worrell, who is currently the only Black woman state attorney in Florida. Jones said, Governor DeSantis and his abuse of power has gone too far. This is a clear display of political manipulation and a double standard, according to State Senator Chevron Jones. All right. Who was he talking about? Andrew Warren was also suspended, right? So he was out of Hillsborough County. That is like Tampa area. This gentleman in 2022 was also removed for office. Now there are people who are controversially looking at why Governor DeSantis removed him. People saying, again, his political ideology, Mr. Warren's, differed from Governor DeSantis's. And they are accusing Governor DeSantis of using his office to remove somebody who was politically aligned in an opposite way from him. Now, this is what the allegations are. These two went head to head. This even reached the Florida State Supreme Court. The Florida State Supreme Court did not reinstate Mr. Warren. They used actually technical grounds and said Andrew Warren waited too long to bring the matter before the state Supreme Court. They didn't take it up. So he sued to get back his office from the suspension that Mr. DeSantis also meted on him, right? Rendered that he should be removed from Hillsborough County State Attorney. Mr. Warren took it up to the state Supreme Court. State Supreme Court said it was basically outdated. Like, he waited too long. To me, it's very technical. They found a technical out. And there are those who might argue that because the state Supreme Court has also been populated with very conservative justices, there was no way that he would have had an opportunity to be reinstated. There are people that think that that body has been tainted with politics. I'm not saying that it has. I'm not saying that I'm just telling you what has been stated out in public discourse about that case, right? They're supposed to be impartial jurists that listen to both sides. But again, they didn't even hear the case because they said that Mr. Warren took too long to bring it to the state Supreme Court. So he has not been reinstated. I don't know if he'll go further. But according to some, this is allegations. Andrew Warren says that his removal was illegal. And this was back in 2022. He was fighting for his position. But the governor fired the twice elected. Let me just tell you for what grounds, allegedly. The governor fired the twice elected state attorney for refusing to prosecute what? Abortion and gender affirming cases, right? That was what many were saying. Again, not saying that it is 100% true. These are allegations that it was the real reason, according to some, that he was targeted because he said out loud that he was not going to, in his office as state attorney, prosecute those who had termination of pregnancy, like because the Florida law has changed now to, I think it's like 6 weeks. At the time, that might have been 15 weeks. But he said he's not prosecuting anybody who would be breaking the law based on termination of pregnancy. And also, Florida has changed the laws with regards to gender affirming care, especially for minors. So he said he's not going to prosecute those if those are people that are being brought in front of him on behalf of the people of his district. And so many allege that Mr. DeSantis really went after him for those political stances that were opposite of his. Again, these are all allegations. So Andrew Warren was the first. That was back in 2022. As of now, he is still not reinstated in the office of the Hillsborough District State Attorney. So now we have Monique Worrell, the second one. And again, both are more liberal leaning. So people are assessing that, does it make sense that they did something wrong? Or is it because their political views vary tremendously from the governor's? Now, this is Nikki Fried. She is the chairwoman of the Florida Democratic Party, the entire party. I actually do know her in real life, in full disclosure. So Ms. Nikki Fried is now the head of the party, right? She runs the party for the state. And her statements were scathing. And I'll read just a few again of highlights from it. Just a few days ago, Monique Worrell, according to Chairwoman Fried, spoke out against Florida's new education standards. Remember what I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, that they're trying to change up how Black history is taught, to change and tell children that somehow slavery was beneficial to those who were held in bondage. Let's get it. So she says standards that would teach our children that there was some kind of benefit of slavery. Ron DeSantis' extreme administration has consistently targeted the rights and freedoms of Black and Brown Floridians, and suspending State Attorney Worrell, the only Black woman state attorney in Florida, is clearly racially and politically motivated. This is according to Chairwoman Fried. All right, this is the head of the Democratic Party. She goes on to say, Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign has been a disaster of epic proportions by attacking law and order in service of his culture wars isn't the solution to his problems. On behalf of her constituents, the Florida Democratic Party demands the immediate reinstatement of State Attorney Monique Worrell. That was from Chairwoman Fried on behalf of the Democrats in the state. She came out swinging. Now I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to ask, and again, if you are in Florida, come on through. If you are just into politics, come on through. If you want to give your opinion, because there again are another angle that I want to cover, because those who are more politically aligned with Ron DeSantis have come out in support of this. So we have it. I've given you some of the Democrats, and I'm going to give you some of the Republicans, because we're going to keep it fair and balanced. Join the conversation. I'm going to drop the link. And if you want to come up and give your opinion on what we're discussing today, I'd love to have you. So glad to see you. Almost 50 watching live. Welcome if this is your first time. Suzette Speaks, talking a little politics today. Welcome those watching on the Facebook page of our partners, Jamaicans.com on Facebook. If you are following me there, welcome. If you are following this on my Suzette Speaks Facebook page or my YouTube, big up yourself and come through. We're talking politics here in Florida. What is happening with this lady who is suspended now, State Attorney Monique Worrell out of Orlando area. She was suspended this week by Governor Ron DeSantis, removed from her office after she was elected. Now, there are people in her district that are up in arms that feel like, man, this is not what the people wanted. There are more conservative folks who are saying, go, 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 go. We'll cover that because I want you to see both sides and what they had to say about this huge political move. Now, there are people saying the governor was within his rights, right, and did it justifiably. There are others who are screaming from the mountaintops that this is politics as usual. Someone who is trying to use their office to try to remove somebody that they don't agree with politically and trying to gain points for his campaign as president. So we have two sides, and I'm going to go into a little bit more, maybe what some of the more conservative folks are saying, right? So let's start with Rick Scott. Rick Scott is the statewide elected U.S. senator, right? He represents Florida up in D.C. 2 senators per state is what we have. So he is one. Marco Rubio is the other one. This is what he had to say on behalf of his, colleague. Rick Scott says on Twitter, this is the right move. Democrats' soft on crime policies are eroding our communities and families' ability to feel safe, he wrote. In February, I called on State Attorney Monique Worrell to deliver the justice and accountability needed for the families affected by shootings in her district, said her suspension, in her district, and said her suspension would be fully justified. In Rick Scott's words, she failed to do her job. Families deserve better. That is a Republican, a U.S. senator, more conservative, and leans towards the same politics as Mr. DeSantis. Let's see who else. This is the Osceola sheriff, Marcus Lopez. Again, there's a gentleman who has now been appointed. He happens to be a Black man. He is more conservative in his politics. He has just served as judge, or Governor DeSantis recently appointed him as judge, and now he's taken over. We're going to meet him, right? I'll bring that up in a second. So again, I could give you about 5 of these of more conservative leaders in and around that area and what they think. But just to give you a taste again of the opposite side of what, folks who are in support of her removal are saying. As sheriff of Osceola County, says Lopez, the safety of our community is and always will be the number one priority. The criminal justice system only works when law enforcement investigates and arrests those who commit crimes, and the state attorney's office prosecutes these offenders. We welcome, this is the new person that he is appointed. Governor has appointed Judge Andrew Bain as the new state attorney, and look forward to our offices working together for justice. The victims of crime in Osceola County, which is one of the counties of this district, will always come first. And again, I can read you about 10 more of these that are from the Republican leadership that are in full support of what Mr. DeSantis has done, right? So what are your thoughts? Do you think that this has been something that was like politically motivated? Do you think that this is something that he rightfully did because he's saying that there are crimes that should have been prosecuted that weren't prosecuted? There are, I wish I had her statement that she has now pulled down, scathing letter that she wrote. I should have taken a download of it before it went down, defending her record and defending why she's done what she's done. And that she did what she told the people who voted for her, what she was going to do. She told them what she was going to do and she did it. So now here's the governor pushing back again, the only Black female state attorney, right, in the state of Florida, and putting in his own person who is a more conservative person to lead this office in Orlando and Osceola. What are your thoughts? Join the conversation. I'm going to, again, drop the link where you see it says join the conversation. You just click on that link and it'll bring you up to speed up onto the panel. You don't have to show your face. You can just use your voice. And I want to welcome everybody watching on both my platforms as well as on Jamaicans.com. Welcome, welcome. All right, little politics in Florida today. Talking about Mr. DeSantis, governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, what he's been doing in this latest political move. Now, he has put somebody else in office, y'all. And last call for panel, he has put someone else. And welcome, Great Pill. Salute to you. Grateful that you're here. If you want to talk a little politics with me, come on up. Hit that join link that is in the chat. And you'll be, again, right on this show with me. You don't have to show your face. You can just speak, right? Just turn off your video and I can bring you up and we can hear your opinion. I appreciate you, Great Pill. Yes, we are on the border. 5K, 5,000 subscribers on my YouTube side. If you're watching on Jamaicans.com, go over to YouTube. Please look me up, Suzette Speaks, and subscribe, please. I appreciate you. TTOO in the building. Well, go on. Once you identify with Democrats or Republicans, you have bought into the system, says TTOO. Okay, let me see. I'm glad you're here, though. Good energy, good vibes. Yes. This is interesting, TTOO, because I've heard, again, maybe it's the spaces that I'm looking. I'm reading a few of the conservative side because I want you to see that there are people that are plotting what's going on. But Orlando tends to lean in many pockets more liberal, right? It has voted more Democrat in years gone by. So to answer your question, they said a lot of the citizens were unhappy with the state attorney. I don't know if that's a true statement. I think it's a subjective call, but I don't know that this is a true statement. Anyway, since you're asking me if it's true. But yeah, it would take you and I both to do a little bit more digging when it comes to who is saying what and then the why, right? As far as her office's protocols and what they do in terms of who they prosecute and what types of crimes, etc., etc. But it's a large office. I know, especially like even here in Miami, up in Broward, the amount of criminal defendants that you have, the amount of attorneys that you run, like it's like running a big law firm, right? In terms of what the responsibilities of the state attorney in each district does. You got 40 and 50 attorneys that are working with law enforcement, working with, investigators and people who are, individuals coming to you saying that this happened to me. I need help. Someone committed this crime. It is a daunting job. You have caseloads like crazy. The ladies that I know who are state attorneys, prosecutors, and what they have to deal with. It's very demanding, just like the public defender's office, which again, if you cannot afford a representation, a private attorney, you can get one under the U.S. Constitution. Right here, we give everybody the right to have representation, or you can represent yourself even. So thinking about this question, it's a loaded question there, TTOO, because I've seen large statements in her favor, and I've also seen more, again, knowing that they are coming from more conservative sources. I'm like, okay, is that political, or who really is to say, right? And I guess we'll see as this unfolds, who comes out much more in terms of support or of her or support of the governor. Dexter says he is strategically appointing his goons to serve his interests, not the people. Dictators are always tyrants. Ooh, strong words. I appreciate you too. Rock Stone, please. Let me see. Life of Cash adds, in all seriousness, we have a malignant in values or become malignant in values required to sustain a healthy democracy. Misalignment, excuse me. Can I read today? Thank you. I'm like malignant. Sorry. We have a misalignment. Thank you. Reading is fundamental in values required to sustain a healthy democracy. I would say that's true. Not only on elected officials, but even within our voting population. We got to have some values in terms of knowing what we stand for, right? And acting on it. Misalignment of values required to sustain a healthy democracy. Very deep. Some have a by hook or by crook attitude for achieving political goals, meaning you don't have principles, or people who lack principle might be just trying to get to where they're trying to go, disregarding the political process, disregarding democratic values, in his opinion. That's very strong. That's a very strong statement. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, there's a lot more to the story. I'm going to just jump in and give you kind of like, hey, what's up, the world class? Yes, this is true. This is the other thing. Prosecutors have discretion by law. There is a real thing called prosecutorial discretion. Who you are pressing charges against and going after in a court of law, who and what kind of sentences you were looking at, and for what kind of individuals. There's a lot, like how you charge somebody is like huge amount of power, right? Whether you're charging them with a felony or a misdemeanor, right? Because what the penalties carry makes a big difference just by what you start out with the charging of. And they're supposed to look at evidence-wise, what can you really prove? Can you prove these facts are showing A or B or C, which crime was actually being committed based on the facts at hand, the eyewitness testimony, the forensic, the statements by police, all of these things, the statements by the victims. You are looking at what the record shows and then building a case after investigating to say, this is the charge that this crime deserves, right? This is the elements of this crime that were met by the evidence. It's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. And then you're right. These offices have a little bit of a limited amount of resources, a la money, a la time, a la people that they could hire, right? I say it's about 40, 50, depending on the size of that state attorney's office. Some of them have to have more than that because they have paralegals. They might have 100 plus personnel. That's just the attorneys. but they're paid with taxpayer dollars. It's not infinite. So who you prosecute, and who gets charged with what is a part of their discretion, right? So you cannot use that as a blanket statement, against that person. That's their job, to have discretion in what they do, right? And what crimes they can prove up. Very interesting. I appreciate you. Oh, you're at work. Thank you. Angela says he's at work enjoying the conversation from afar. Appreciate you. Maxfield Avenue, beep. Straight out of Jamaica. What you know about it? Glad you're here. I'm glad you're hanging out, Chris Smoky Hat. Appreciate you being here, brother. It affects a lot of us, because even if you're in a diaspora position where you're looking at it from afar, I'm sure a lot of your family, folks that always have links here in Florida. There are a lot. Oh my gosh, my Haitian diaspora, the Jamaican diaspora, there are people from all over the world here in Florida, right, that have now become a part of the American tapestry. Many who are now citizens looking at this, and it's important that we understand what's happening and how it affects us, right? Even if it's just Orlando, it's not in Miami, it's not in Fort Lauderdale, it's not in Palm Beach, it's not, bruh. If he starts this somewhere and it's not addressed, there's no telling, where we can see this type of behavior go. So if there's an issue with it, we need to speak up. We need to speak up loud and clear. Let me see what you got to say, Chris. Chris adds, DeSantis' presidential run is facing some challenges, so he needs to inject some life into it by starting a fight against liberals. Listen, a lot of people would agree with you. Thank you for sharing that opinion. That's the whole question behind this. Is this a legitimate issue he has with this office, the state attorney's office? Or is he looking to score political points? Hi. All right, I guess it depends on who you ask. I appreciate you, Chris. Listen, I'm going to tell you about the gentleman who is replacing this gentleman. His name is Andrew Bain, Judge Andrew Bain. He was just appointed to replace a judge in Orange County, in Orlando there. And he has a more conservative leaning. He's a part of what they call the Federalist Society. If people don't know, Google Federalist Society. I don't have time now to go into it in depth. But it is almost like a gatekeeper to the judiciary, to the bench, and other political positions for more conservative people. You almost have to show that you are more conservative leaning. And if you follow their philosophies, then you get political appointments. There are people that argue that, and it's an allegation. I'm not saying it's true, but he comes from South Florida. I would say, like, in full disclosure, I know not only of him, I know his brother. Grew up in Pompano, went to UM. He was a pretty big deal as a UM football player, and went to FAMU Law and settled in Orlando, has a family, etc. So just so you know, what's happened is that he has now been appointed to replace Monique Worrell in her suspension. So again, Andrew Bain is his name. He's like serving. I was like, why would anybody leave a judgeship to go be a state attorney? He's already sitting on the bench as a judge. There's a lot more I can say about that. I will not say here. Politics. But he's leaving his judgeship that he was just appointed into, I think it was in 2020 by Governor DeSantis, to take over the state attorney's office. He's already at work, y'all. He said he's gonna remove the diversion programs. Let me read some of what his statement was. He also took the podium during the governor's announcement. He says, and this is state attorney Andrew Bain, our job is to hold those that violate the law accountable for their actions according to law. We are not here to judge them as evil, but to prosecute their choices and administer justice. I will advocate on your behalf. This is him writing to his staff, right? In an internal memo that was made public. I will advocate on your behalf to our legislative leaders to provide robust tools, that's the money, to better handle our cases. However, we must continue to do our best to protect and prevent further harm to our community. This is where this was a long statement. I just took out a few pieces. You could read the whole entire statement for yourself. This is online. Additionally, Until I evaluate their effectiveness, I am immediately suspending all state attorney-created diversion programs other than pretrial diversion through state or county probation. I encourage you, I encourage you all to use the community problem-solving courts, including drug court, mental health court, the veterans court, when contemplating case resolutions. So he's already going in the direction of we removing the diversion programs that I'm thinking about for young people, for first-time offenders and things like this, except for, as he said, when it has to do with pretrial diversion. It's very interesting. And he had a longer statement, guys. I could have chopped up much more, but you could tell his political philosophy is a quite different and contrasting approach to law and legal philosophy than Monique Worrell's, and that it is much more aligned with where the governor stands. So final comments from you. Spam the comments. Is Ron DeSantis in the right to have suspended? Again, she has defended her record. I haven't gone into detail here as to what she has said, but her statement, like I said, was taken down from a letter that was released yesterday. But she has done a press conference. You can watch it. She has spoken very, very passionately and what many would say is factually about her record, and that this is, again, an attack on her due to a political agenda as opposed to a real grievance with her work and her work ethic and what she chooses to prosecute and what she does not choose to prosecute. So here we are. Mr. DeSantis has stolen the headline yet again. But let me know your thoughts. If you're a team replay watching, let me know your thoughts. Again, it seems to be that there are patterns now. We've had former state attorney Andrew Warren in Hillsborough, who said he would not prosecute people who were thought to have broken Florida's newly minted laws on termination of pregnancy or on gender reaffirming care. So you're out of there. DeSantis says you're gone. Right? Has not been reinstated since. And people say that there's more because of a political difference in their views than in a legitimate reason that he's not doing his job defending the people of his district. And now we have Monique Worrell, who too spoke out against the governor's standards when it comes to education and teaching that slavery had a benefit to those who were enslaved. And due to her political stance, he came after her strongly. There are people who disagree with that premise now. As I told you, there are people on the conservative side. But what are your thoughts as we finish up today's program? Last but not least, hit the like button as we go. Glad to have all of you here exploring this topic. Leave your comments. I appreciate you. Little Ernest said, ATL in the building. And good afternoon, CBN's Tech Talk. All my people's in the chat. Glad that you're here. But yeah, it's very interesting, and we will have to wait and see what happens next. If you are not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button, please. I have not been monetized or remonetized. YouTube told me I have to wait till October, y'all. So if you could support in any way this stream or by joining my Patreon, you know we do this for the love, but we also appreciate your support. You can hit me up on Cash App with any gift. I would appreciate it. And always appreciate y'all showing love just by being here, right? Your time and sharing, liking, commenting also helps. But I really appreciate those who also support your sister. And you can also join my Patreon for exclusive content. You can go over to patreon.com/Suzette Speaks and find me there. But that's all for now, y'all. I appreciate you. Make sure you hit the notification bell and the like button on your way out so you will know when I have my next show coming up. But I appreciate you guys spending some time with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.